Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Hello again, and welcome to the positive side of life. Finally, we're going to move from below the line living and all those negatives that we went through all the way down to psychological withdrawal and total loss of consciousness of who you are as a person. We're going to start looking at above the line and how highly successful people have chosen to live above the line. Thomas Edison, I've talked about him before, but Thomas Edison chose to believe that every mistake was a step towards success, as opposed to, oh me, here I go again. And you and I make mistakes, unless you're not doing anything new. There are people who are so much into a rut or a routine that they do the same thing every day, day after day after day. A little hard to make a mistake. But if you're creative and you're in a creative posture where you are building a business or you are in a sales situation, in every sales situation you're dealing with a person or more, sometimes two people like a couple, or whatever sales field you're in. For each person you're dealing with a totally new environment, something you've never dealt with before, because every person is a unique individual. Unique in the way they've been raised, the problems they've conquered, the failures they've had, and we form ourselves by how we act and react in a given lifetime, collecting to today. So, people who identify with failure will live below the line. People who recognize mistakes will live above the line, because recognizing a mistake means I need to try something different. It's not a matter of giving up. Why quit? Quitters never win and all that kind of stuff. You've heard all those sayings, and it's really true. It's vitally, vitally important that we understand that a mistake is a learning experience. Mistakes are simply a step towards greater success. If you choose to learn from your mistakes, some people ignore their mistakes and blame somebody else. And that's how you get below the line. Because as soon as you start blaming somebody else, you're down to neurotic and paranoia, and now you've given away the authority to change what you're doing. Your creativity stops right there. If I can blame you for all my problems, nothing I can do about it, so I'll just have to live with it. Or exist with it, actually. It's not really living. Every problem you face on a day-to-day basis is a challenge. And you need to recognize it as a challenge and work at solving the problem. Sometimes what we're doing and have done up to this point is all trash. Gonna have to throw it all out, start all over again. That happens. It's happened to you if you are over age 40. The ability to do that is the ability to stay above the line. And so that's what we want to work on this lesson. The steps above the line, and looking at the line, you'll see the first step above the line is giving of recognition. Recognition is simply, I understand that we have a problem. I understand this is good. I understand this is not good. And so we have to make a correction. Recognition of people. My friend Bob, who I've talked about in other programs, in this program, but other chapters, is a guy who people don't like. They don't want to spend time with him. He's an exasperator, and you know what that is now. And he argues and cusses out and does all these things that people don't like, especially when it's focused at them. I have no problem with him because when he takes a shot at me, I just understand that's Bob being Bob, and he has to get above the line. The way he gets above the line is to put me down, and that puts him above the line. It's fine with me. I don't take it personal. You can call me whatever. I have people who don't like my teaching. Trust that's not you viewing this today. They say this is just all a bunch of psychobabble. Well, that's probably true. It's all psychobabble. But if you understand it and can use it, then it can cause you to achieve your own personal goals and become the person you choose to be, as opposed to allowing your world to dictate what kind of person you are. And that's what we're talking about here. The word recognition is recognizing myself for my strengths. I need to also recognize those areas that are undeveloped natural ability. Do you notice I didn't say weaknesses? I have people who speak truth and positive things into my life that know more than me in those areas. When I go to a dentist, I don't say, I want this one pulled and that one filled. I let the dentist tell me this one needs to be pulled and this one needs to be filled. I don't know. All I know is I need some dental work. And at my age, teeth tend to wear out after 452 years on this earth. That's approximately how long I've been around. This face has wore out several bodies, actually. And the key is to recognize a problem, and by recognizing a problem, we can work at a solution to the problem. Sometimes it's quick, and sometimes it takes days, and sometimes months, and sometimes even years to solve some problems. But while you're working at solving the problem, it's all above the line stuff, because you see, you're being creative and productive. Productivity is based upon amount of creativity that precedes it. If there's not creativity, it's not going to be productive. It's going to be a mess. So the more creative we are, the more productive we are. And the more productive we are, the happier we are. Our happiness is directly connected to how productive we are. You see sad people who are my age walking around with this kind of attitude, I'm just hanging in there. They're not happy because they're not being productive. They're not doing anything productive. I refuse to pull the plunger, pull the plug on life. I'm not going to do that. I've already got it arranged where when they open the casket for viewing, they're going to hear a voice. Hi, welcome to my funeral. Appreciate you coming. Might scare a few folks, but I'm going to get in the last word. And the last day I live, I want it to be the most productive day I've ever lived. Well, is that possible? Well, yes. There's people who, inventors and songwriters and people, all kind of creativity that create right up to the day they breathe the last breath. And you can be that person. But it's a choice. You have to recognize your potential, recognize your opportunity, recognize what you have to invest to be an achiever as opposed to a hanger-in-there type person. Incidentally, we don't really enjoy being around hanger-inners. They're kind of boring and kind of down, and they tend to live below the line because nothing's going right, and they're just barely hanging in there, barely making it, and all the physical problems and all the things that come along with deterioration because of lack of activity. Just getting out and walking a mile a day or 2 miles a day keeps your legs in shape and keeps your breathing in shape and keeps your vitality there. Recognize problems as possibilities, and by being creative, you will become productive. Creativity creates productivity. Next step above the line is giving of time. You only have so much time to live, and every moment is on your time clock. I refuse to sit around and waste time. Now, that doesn't mean I do not enjoy entertainment. I do. And love to go out to dinner with friends or with my wife and enjoy a lovely meal. Love to sit and watch some of my favorite TV programs or some of the movies we now have on our TV. Is it a waste of time? No, I enjoy the creativity of these actors and actresses and the writers of these things. Nowadays, you can get videos that have a backside that tells you how the whole movie was written and created and interview the actors and actors. It's terrific. It's as much fun as watching the movie. Because what you're hearing is creativity and how these people think. So how you invest your time instead of spend your time will determine how productive you will be in life, how much you will accomplish, how healthy you will stay. You need to be challenged every day. You need to have a reason to get out of bed. You need to have a reason to get dressed. You have to have a reason to punch a time clock or whatever it is. I know a lot of people who in my field is public speaking, speak, and an hour after they gave their last speech, they died. Had one speaker at one convention I was speaking for actually died on stage, passed out, and he was gone. It's called going with your boots on. None of this creeping into eternity. You got to jump right on in. That's me. I hope that I'm speaking and say, excuse me, folks, I'm going to go out and die. It might shake a few folks up, but I'm going to give my focus attention on using every moment of every day that I possibly can to be creative and productive. If nothing else, I can go out on a street corner and talk to people as they walk by. I love that tie. What a lovely hairdo, ma'am. I do this anyway. I go into 7-Eleven and I tell the clerk behind the counter, male or female, I say, I really appreciate you. The hours you work and how hard you work at being of service to us, I really appreciate it. Well, thank you. How often do those people get a thank you? Or how about the grocery clerk? Or how about the mail clerk? I mean, they get all kinds of complaints, very few compliments. Well, in leadership always puts you in a position where you are using, or rather than abusing, time. You have to stay in a leadership role, you have to be productive. So, how do you invest your time? There's coaching, teaching, and I don't care who you are and what your credentials are, you know things I don't know and you can teach me stuff. Use your knowledge. Help people understand better how to do things. Ministering, I have a son who's a minister. And, it's touching lives. Regardless of what the religion is or whatever, touching lives. Friendships. Do you realize friendship is a creative thing? You have to be creative to develop friendships. When we move past time, we move to things, giving of things, loans. I've had friends loan me money when I was young to buy a car. Didn't have to do that. They said it was their pleasure to be able to loan me enough money for a down payment on a car when I was in the military and didn't make a lot of money. But I could make the car payments, but I didn't have the down payment. So I paid them back a little at a time over a period of months. Wow, what a blessing. And I think, on the other hand, they probably said, look at that kid's driving a car now because we helped him. Giving is such a positive reinforcement of life. So, friendships, giving of empathy. I'm not talking sympathy. Sympathy is below the line. Empathy is above the line. Empathy is, I understand what you're going through. I've gone through similar situations, or I know people who've gone through similar situations. Here's some things they learned. Here's some things they did. A little bit of coaching, maybe even, going along with empathy and encouragement, words of encouragement. How often have you said to somebody, I just want you to know how much I appreciate what you do. I really appreciate you standing there at the door every Sunday morning and shaking my hand when I come to church. Appreciate that. It takes some doing to stand there every week. It's a commitment. Have to have a smile on your face in order to greet, unless you want to chase people away. Encourage people. You'll find tremendous pleasure in seeing people kind of blossom or kind of accept your encouragement. Because there's not that many people encouraging anybody in any field. Anytime I see a police officer, I tell them I appreciate your service. I do the same thing with firemen. Since 9/11, when so many of those firemen were killed, and the police officers also trying to save people, made me think, I don't think we tell these people often enough how much we appreciate them. I had an officer give me a ticket for going over the speed limit, and after he wrote it all up and handed me the ticket, I said, I want you to know how much I appreciate your service to our community. I appreciate it. Things are physical, but they're also emotional. A compliment is a thing. A pat on the back is a thing. So you can give loans and gifts and tools, and I have a friend who has all kinds of tools, and if I need a tool, I can go to him. He's got it. It's tools I might use once in my lifetime, but he's got them all marked and labeled and so on. Remember important dates of people, birthdays, anniversaries, the day they came to work for you, the day they won the whatever award, and so on. All those memories are really important to reinforce, because those are things. You turn activity and words into things, compliments, recognition, acceptance, all of those things. It's great to say to somebody, when in need, you're always my friend I can count on. My old friend Bob, I could count on him. He could fix anything. It's called giving of things. And we do it without thinking about it, but it's important. So, next lesson we're going to go above that line to committed love. what it takes to commit to love. I think you'll enjoy it and you'll find it important in your own life. We'll look forward to seeing you then.